Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC Series 1 ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this episode, I'm going to be featuring a brand new team composition that's been popping up recently. It features Gothitelle to trap Pokemon in, as well as PERISH Song Azumarill, and some strong attackers such as Life Orb Flying Tera Gyarados and Assault Vest Kingambit. This team uses PERISH Song really effectively, and it doesn't revolve solely around PERISH Song, but essentially in this format, if you can just pick up 2 quick knockouts, PERISH Song can often just win you the game immediately. So you've got a lot of defensive options, such as Dark Terra on Gothitelle, as well as Heal Pulse and a bulky Azumarill as well, and the idea is you can often just end games with PERISH Song, or even use it in the early game to pick up some quick knockouts. I think this is one of the most difficult team compositions that I have piloted and featured so far, so it's not very easy to pick up, but a lot of high-level players have been experimenting with similar ideas to this, and so it's something that you should expect to run into, especially if you're competing in major tournaments. So as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down in the description below. And thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, it would really mean a lot if you consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. Really helps me out a ton. Anyway, thanks so much as always for joining me, and let's talk about this team. First of all, a huge thank you to Snow for building and sharing this team. Snow is an incredible player from Japan who finished second in a big online grassroots tournament over in Japan recently with this exact team, and they also finished in the top 4 of the 2017 World Championships. This is a pretty interesting core, and it's one that I think is an edited version of a different team built by an American player called Nails, who's also one of the best players from North America, and I think it's something that you should expect to see in the upcoming weeks as we continue to play this meta game. And so rental and paste are down in the description below. And question of the day, I want to know if you could create a move similar to PERISH Song, what would you do within the game? So let's talk about this team. The first Pokemon I want to talk about that I want to highlight here is Azumarill. You know, this team, I wouldn't say is necessarily just a Perish Trap team, but essentially you have a big combination here where Azumarill, of course, can set up Perish Song, and Gothitelle can just trap your opponent in. What this means is you can often go for combinations such as Gothitelle plus Azumarill immediately, go for something like a Fake Out into a Perish Song, double protect, defensive Terra Gothitelle, protect again, and then just knock out 2 Pokemon immediately. In addition, you could use Azumarill to set up a Perish Song in the late game, and so one thing that this team likes to do is pick up 2 quick knockouts through Pokemon like Gyarados, Meowscarada, and Kingambit, and then end the game with a Perish Song from Azumarill. And so, yeah, it's interesting because I think when you think of Perish Trap teams, they are hard dedicated towards just like clicking Perish Song multiple times, but this team has a lot of offense between the Gyarados, the Meowscarada, and the Kingambit, and so you're not necessarily only relying on Perish Song to win the game. In fact, you could actually just drop Azumarill outright within the team and still end up winning. And so, yeah, the Azumarill here has a moveset of Aqua Jet, Sing, Perish Song, and Protect, and has a Ground Terra mainly to cover for that weakness to electric type damage. And you're mainly going to be clicking Perish Song with this, but Sing is one of those moves that you want to use if you just don't have any other better options. Like often Azumarill will have Protected already. You don't really want to switch out. You can just go for a Sing, and if you connect with it, it can gain you a huge advantage. But keep that in mind. This thing's accuracy is only 55%, and so it is not very consistent, and you don't want to be relying on this unless you absolutely have to. Azumarill's main value on this team indeed is the Perish Song. It also has Sap Sipper, so you can actually wall grass type Pokemon, especially something like Meowscarada, for example, and so that can be quite nice. The Azumarill is really nice paired with the Gothitelle here. This is just max HP, max special defense with Calm Nature. That helps a lot against things like Life Orb Hydreigon, for example. And you also have Dark Terra as a defensive mechanism to protect you from Dark and Ghost type attacks. It's a moveset of Fake Out, Hypnosis, Heal Pulse, and Protect, so it's fully kind of supportive. The idea is to use this to, you know, set up Fake Out and then let Azumarill set up a Perish Song, for example, and it will just stay on the field often for a long time. With the Iapapa Berry as well as Protect, you're able to often set up a Perish Song and then trap your opponent in with Gothitelle. And Shadow Tag, of course, is just an absolutely incredible ability. Now, you also have some offensive members of this team. The first one is a Life Orb Dragon Dance Gyarados with Terra Flying, and so this gives you really nice coverage into things that are weak to it, such as Amoonguss or Hariyama, for example. Intimidate in itself is just valuable. The Gyarados here can really be paired, especially with like Amoonguss or Gothitelle. Like you could just Fake Out Dragon Dance or Rage Powder Dragon Dance immediately, and at +1, this thing can deal a lot of damage. Finally, to round out the team, you've got Meowscarada with Choice Band. This is admin, so not Jolly. Keep that in mind. As a result, you might be slower than Jolly opposing Meowscaradas, for example, as well as Mouse Hold, which can be kind of annoying. And so that's one thing you'll really want to pay attention to when playing with this. But the idea behind Choice Band and Protean is you just maximize your damage output, obviously. Kingambit is the next Pokemon here. This is an Assault Vest Defiant version with Brick Break, and so the main thing I'd call out here is, first of all, the lack of speed investment. You only have 4 speed EVs, but you're really bulky, and then you're also Fairy Tera. Fairy Tera in particular is really valuable because, of course, Kingambit does not want to go up against fighting-type Pokemon, and so this gives you a resistance to it, and so that is honestly very much needed, and it turns something, you know, that normally would be 4 times super effective into Kingambit into something that you resist, which I think is awesome. The final Pokemon is just a bulky Amoonguss here. This is Pollen Puff, Spore, Rage Powder, and Protect with Wiki Berry. Pollen Puff is really nice in the format, especially because Meowscarada right now is really common, and this does really, really good damage into opposing Meowscaradas. And so you can obviously use it to heal your own team up as well. And so I'd say with this team, it's fairly high like skill ceiling. It's not very easy to execute. And what's really important is basically like maximizing the amount of damage you get from your 3 sweepers in Gyarados, Meowscarada, and Kingambit. And either using Azumarill alongside that, whether it be early game to just pick up some quick knockouts, or in the end game where you can just set up Perish Song and then win the game from there. But a lot of setups I'll go for example, include like using a combination of Gyarados, Meowscarada, Kingambit, and then ending the game with Azumarill. Gothitelle can be valuable for like Fake Out, like I mentioned. You could do for something like Fake Out, lead with Meowscarada, U-turn out, pivoting Gyarados, get an Intimidate off, like maybe Dragon Dance, and then Azumarill can set up a Perish Song as well. So there's a ton of flexibility in how you can operate with the team. Now, in terms of weaknesses that I've run into while using the team, first of all, I think like you do need to be pretty precise in how to utilize the Pokemon, and one big reason for that is because Gyarados, Meowscarada, and Kingambit actually all suffer from, types that are 4 times super effective against it, and this team has so much offense indexing on these 3 Pokemon. Azumarill, Amoonguss, and Gothitelle essentially do no damage whatsoever, so you really need to rely on Gyarados, Meowscarada, and Kingambit to deal massive amounts of damage. Meowscarada and Gyarados don't really have any bulk, right? And so you can really expose that fact. And for example, Gyarados, its Terra is flying as well, so electric-type attacks still really hurt even after you Terra. Meowscarada, for example, of course it can change its type through Protean, but Intimidate I found has been really valuable against Meowscarada because often like it turns something that would be a KO into them surviving, and then they can knock me out in return. And Kingambit obviously doesn't love going up against fighting type Pokemon, although that's where the Fairy Tera comes in handy. But I think when it comes to weaknesses, the problems that I run into often is just like losing a lot of offense immediately, like my Gyarados getting one shot, Meowscarada getting one shot, and that puts me in a really tricky position. Just knowing that like Gothitelle, Amoonguss, and Azumarill don't really do very much damage in itself is valuable. I think, of course, when you're thinking about how you can break through Shadow Tag plus Perish Song, like Ghost-type Pokemon in general can be annoying. Golden-Go in particular, of course, is not very easy to go up against because it's actually immune to Perish Song as well. That's why you have Choice Band Meowscarada as well as Kingambit. But I think if you can conserve Golden-Go for an endgame, for example, and take care of these Pokemon early, that's also caused some problems for me. But overall, yeah, I would say I think like this team really relies on dealing a lot of damage from Gyarados, Meowscarada, and Kingambit. I've had games where like I just kind of get outsped, my opponent gets better speed control, especially since Gothitelle doesn't have Trick Room, and all of my Pokemon essentially just get outsped and KO'd before I have a chance to move as well. So those are just a couple of things that I run into. I think the other thing to call out is that like there's very little offensive capabilities from Gothitelle. Basically, after it uses Fake Out, it's either healing its partners, protecting, or trying to put you to sleep, but it doesn't actually do damage, right? And so yes, it traps you in, but the best it can do is like a 60% chance to put you to sleep. And I think like when you try to play against this team, account for how your opponent can lead with Gothitelle and what combinations they could go with, right? Because Gothitelle, I think, actually pairs with all of these Pokemon fairly nicely as leads. But I think if Gothitelle's put in a tricky position right from turn 1, you can force a Terra out immediately, and that puts like the rest of the Pokemon's offensive capabilities into a slightly worse position. So, yeah. Okay, we've got Garchomp, Annihilate, Golden-Go, Grimmsnarl, Kilowattrel, and Armarouge. So, how do we want to approach this? Like, Banded Meowscarada is good damage output here. Gyarados Terra Flying is solid, but has to worry about activating Annihilate's Defiant. Don't love Amoonguss here. I guess Amoonguss could Terra and Spore, though. And Azumarill has Perish Song. But Perish Song won't work against Golden-Go. So I'm going to have to take care of Golden-Go before I can get it off. How valuable is Gothitelle trapping things in for me here? It's valuable on turn 1. That's basically it. I think like a Kilowattrel setup from their end makes a lot of sense. I don't have Trick Room, unfortunately. You know what could work, which seems kind of crazy? Gothitelle Azumarill immediately and fake out Perish Song in the early game rather than the late game. I'm actually very interested in that idea here. Meowscarada, and then... what do I want as the last one? Kingambit or Gyarados? I think I lean a little bit more towards Gyarados here, because of the matchup into Annihilate. Anyway, the reason I'm thinking about this is because I could see them leading Kilowattrel. If that's the case, it doesn't really put on that much like offensive pressure into the Gothitelle. They have Grimmsnarl. I guess the question then would be, does Grimmsnarl have Parting Shot? If so, then they can pretty easily switch out of the Perish Song. I don't really think they'll want to lead Golden Goal into a team with Meowscarada and Kingambit, but I could be wrong on that depending on their Tera. It's going to be Kilowattrel and Annihilate though. Okay, that works. I guess now the question is, what kind of Annihilate set are you, right? But turn 1, like, I'm down to click Fake Out here and just Perish Song. So what are the things that would give me problems right now? Ghost Tera, Kilowattrel, or Covert Cloak on that, but I think both are fairly unlikely here. Basically, the theory here is if I can pick up 2 quick knockouts and gain an early lead, I have fairly strong Pokemon in Life Orb, Dragon Dance, Gyarados, as well as Banded Meowscarada in the back. The thing with Annihilate is, you know, normally you'll want to run Rage Fist. The damage output's a little bit scary, but that's fine. And we can use Tera effectively to... oh, they are getting Tera here. Is that actually going to be Ghost Kilowattrel? Okay, it's Annihilate. That's fine. Electric. Do they have, Tera Blast? We'll see. Kilowattrel flinches. Okay, it's just Thunder Punch. That's fine. I don't think that KOs us. Yeah. Definitely did not see that coming, though, I have to say. So yeah, basically now, after this setup, I can just double protect. They can't switch out very easily, and they committed their Tera. So honestly, if we get through these next 3 turns and manage to KO them, I think we'll be in a very, very favorable position. This turn is interesting, like, because I've got the Berry on Gothitelle. Like, I could Hypnosis or even Heal Pulse here. Not really sure what they want to go for, but I guess I'm worried about, like, this could theoretically Tailwind, I suppose. And I don't necessarily need to protect here. I think it's still better to go for it, though. Because we also have Ground Tera on Azumarill, so I could always just Ground Tera next turn. Like, the second turn of your Perish Song is essentially, like, the most critical, right? This being the first. Okay, good. They just Thunderbolt. Oh, that's clever. Okay. Self-damage to increase your own Rage Fist. The way we get around this, by the way, is just use our Dark Tera now. Yeah. So, I can go for Dark Tera. I'm actually down a Heal Pulse here, because it seems like, you know, they're trying to break the trap right now. And then just go for, I guess, Sing. The Azumarill slot really is not super relevant right now, I'd argue, because the idea is to just survive this turn. If Azumarill faints, fine, I bring in Gyarados, double protect, and then we have a quick 3-2 lead, with my opponent having committed their Tera already. And then Gyarados plus Meowscarada looks fairly solid in the endgame. I think there's a decent chance they go for another Self-Thunderbolt onto Annihilate, and then just target Gothitelle, and so going for Dark Tera here should save us. So unless they make the crazy prediction here expecting Dark Tera, I think we're in very good shape. Okay. Go for Hurricane. Okay, I mean, that's fine. We survived that. Okay, they double up onto Azumarill. That's fine. Like, the reason why I don't mind that too much is because Azumarill isn't doing anything for me at this point in the game anyway, so yeah, I waste the Heal Pulse, and I do commit my Tera, sadly, as a result, but the idea here is that now I just guarantee a double knockout, right? We just bring in Gyarados, and double protect, and both Pokemon will faint. Electric Annihilate is interesting, though. That is not a Tera I've really seen before on it, but you could see even with Thunder Punch, like, the Azumarill was so bulky, we didn't really take too much damage. But, you know, I'd say this game is still far from over, right? Like, yes, I have double KO, but I did have to commit my Tera there as a defensive option. Just to guarantee that we would pick up the KOs. So I can just protect and protect. And then it's a question of what they have in the back, right? I think Choice Band Meowscarada is an amazing Pokemon to clean up games with, so I'm happy I have that. The problem is I might still be a little bit slower relative to my opponent here, right? But yeah, despite going up against 2 electric-type Pokemon, we were able to successfully get the trap off and KO both Pokemon, which is awesome. The Gothitelle here will faint from the Perish Song, actually. But that's okay, because it gives me the free switch into Meowscarada, and it actually benefits me, I would argue. Because if Gothitelle were out on the field, it doesn't do anything for me going into the next turn, other than pressure maybe with Hypnosis or Heal Pulse, but it's not worth switching out Gothitelle there, given that I just activated Defiant and the competitive, right? And Meowscarada is way more essential, in my opinion, to winning this endgame. I suppose, though, if I sacrifice Meowscarada, it would allow me to bring Gothitelle back in and click Fake Out with it, but that's okay. So it's a 2-2 position. Neither of us have Tera, but I have Choice Band Meowscarada, and I eliminated Kilowattrel, which was, you know, the main answer I think they had on their team to Meowscarada. I'm also not sure they'll have as much good damage in a Gyarados at this point in the game. So that looks like Armarouge coming in. Beautiful. We can just Choice Band knock off that. And that's Golden Go. We can knock off both of those. Cool. I think the debate here is, do we think one of the 2 Pokemon is going to protect, right? I think I'm okay going for knockoff onto the Golden Go, and then I don't mind Dragon Dancing. Well, I guess we might just be faster than Armarouge. I'll just split my damage like that. Yeah, I mean, if Golden Go uses Make It Rain, which you kind of have to beat Meowscarada, your special attack gets decreased. I'm wondering if I should have gone the opposite way, like knock off into Armarouge, because Golden Go isn't actually that much of a threat. I'm not sure you can even one-shot Meowscarada. It depends on the item here. But Gyarados is well-positioned to beat both. They actually don't protect either Pokemon. Okay, cool. So there's knockoff. That's a one-hit KO. Amazing. Now we should win. Armarouge can't win the 2v1 from this position. It was weakness policy. Wow, a lot of cool tricks. And we were just faster with Waterfall here. Okay, excellent. And beautiful. So yeah, that was a really interesting game. I think like it showcases how you can actually utilize Gothitelle and Azumarill early. I think when I had first started practicing with this team, I'd always been like, oh, I'll use Azumarill to end games. But in this case, like I felt like my opponent didn't have too many ways to like easily switch out and like actually KO Gothitelle, especially with that Dark Tera. So by picking up that early lead, it put Gyarados and Meowscarada into a really nice slot. The main thing is, you know, I didn't know exactly what their final 2 Pokemon were going to be. And so essentially in the early game, I was trading 2 Pokemon in my Tera for their 2 Pokemon in their Tera. And it's not like I got to like conserve my Intimidate with Gyarados either. So, you know, it was kind of like a calculated risk. I figured Gyarados and Meowscarada could beat most of the combinations that they had in the back, especially because I think Choice Band Meowscarada in the end game is just crazy strong with Protean. You can one-shot so many Pokemon. But yeah, I think like that was a little bit risky. Like, I don't know, but I don't think I wanted to, you know, consider switching out Gothitelle because Meowscarada was so important for like late game offense there. But yeah, I think the main interesting thing from that game was the Electric Tera Annihilate, not something I'd really seen before. Oh, there's a Chansey, a Sableye, and a Murkrow. I'm immediately thinking about like how good Azumarill Perish Song is against those top 3 Pokemon because they're all really passive. And then you've got Gyarados, Arcanine, and Annihilate. So lots of Intimidates. I mean, I haven't played against Chansey at all in Scarlet and Violet. Like typically in previous generations, you do like minimize shenanigans, but Perish Song is honestly the perfect counter into it. I think we have to worry about like getting taunted with the Azumarill. Sableye can also... Actually, they do have 2 ghost types with Sableye and Annihilate, so they can switch out fairly easily, which isn't great for me. Kingambit Fairy Tera seems like a really solid bring here, because there's a good chance they'll just activate Defiant. I have to worry about their Annihilate. This is so interesting. Like, I want to go Kingambit. We're definitely going to bring Azumarill because even if they can switch out Chance, like I just don't want Chansey pulling off anything here. But I don't know really who to lead with here. Amoonguss is interesting. I feel like all of our Pokemon are really solid here, so I'm not sure. I think like Gothitelle Dark Tera could be really valuable because it blocks Taunt from Murkrow. And then I could also use it to like Hypnosis onto Annihilape. I'm just very wary of clicking Hypnosis unless I like actually need to. And a miss would be bad because then Annihilape could close combat me. Kingambit right now is eating. But they might have Will-O-Wisp, obviously. I am just going to Tera here turn 1. Like, we're at +4 attack right now. Or sorry, +2 attack. Because the Intimidate still goes into effect. So if you have Will-O-Wisp, then it's not actually really that strong to start. Do I actually really want to commit my Tera is the other question. I definitely want to go out into the Gyarados right now. Between Arcanine and their Gyarados, who am I more concerned about? I guess Arcanine, just because Meowscarada doesn't love going up against it, so I'm down to cleave into that slot. I'm actually going to hard switch here because, like, my opponent could have Tera Blast with Gyarados onto Meowscarada as well as Flare Blitz from Arcanine. I really don't want Meowscarada to faint right now. So we'll see if Arcanine has Will-O-Wisp, but I think if they don't, they are in so much trouble right now. Yeah. They're going to go for a Tera. Interesting. Okay. Gyarados Tera. Is it flying? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's why I wanted to switch out Meowscarada. I mean, it's a good start, right? We got an Intimidate onto both of their physical attackers. Kingambit's at +2 attack in itself. And they are not going for a Will-O-Wisp onto that slot. They're very aggressively targeting Meowscarada down. Wow. That's shocking to me, but I'll take it. That was a lot of damage still. Wow. How did I do that much? Is it Choice Banded? Anyway, I actually ended up not tearing there because of the idea of switching in Gyarados. Like, I figured even if you Flare Blitz me, like, I won't take that much damage because you're at -1. I don't know if that was the smartest decision. And Annihilape comes out now, and now I think we just Tera to make sure we survive this turn. And just cleave into Kingambit. Sorry, use Kingambit to cleave into Annihilape. That Tera Blast did a lot of damage. Is there value in holding Intimidate right now? I don't think so. We're very close to just ending the game with Perish Song if we get a KO this turn, right? I'm going to commit my Tera here. I think a Dragon Dance is okay because I could see them like doubling up into the Kingambit slot right now. I don't know if Kingambit's Sucker Punch was a KO onto Gyarados. If it was a guaranteed KO, I think it's worth just going for it. I guess the other way I could have played was Sucker Punch Gyarados, Tera my Gyarados, and then Tera Blast, but I don't love that option. Oh, wow. My Gyarados really is the fastest Pokemon here, so that Tera Blast play actually would have worked, maybe. But it should be fine. I don't think you're KOing the Kingambit here. Beautiful. Hopefully we KO them in return. Even if not, it's not the end of the world. They're just going to Tera Blast Gyarados, presumably, here. Yeah, that's fine. And this is what's really nice about Fairy Tera Kingambit, because a lot of people run Steel or Dark Kingambit just to increase your damage output. Now I get Cleave Off. Does not get the KO, actually. Oh, okay, I was like, what is that item? It's Leftovers. That's fine. Impressive let it survive there, though, I have to say. If it didn't have Leftovers, I'd bring out Azumarill and just Aqua Jet, like Sucker Punch. Basically, like, what do we have to worry about here? Bulk up. I shouldn't Sucker Punch necessarily. That really feels like Choice Band Gyarados damage to me personally, but I'm down to just cleave into Gyarados now. And, like, I could U-turn here. I think Annihilape doesn't really have too much to offer right now, so I'm actually down to just U-turn out, like, bait the Tera Blast into this slot. Because right now, if I'm my opponent, like, I'm like, okay, well, my Annihilape is just going to faint. But they actually do a great job in not protect here. That's fine, though. Because, like, if I KO the Gyarados right now, like I said, we can just end the game with Perish Song. But I'm impressed by Annihilape's bulk there. I maybe should have targeted the Gyarados instead. But I was looking to just pick up a one-hit KO, which I saw in front of me. I can see Annihilape going for a bulk up here, by the way. Alright, they just opt for Rage Fist. That's fine. It's not that much damage. And Terra Blast. Yep, it's okay. Should survive this. They're at -1. Yeah. Now we can cleave, and now I have Perish Song for this endgame. Cool. Gyarados, Arcanine, Annihilate. I mean, that was all of their offense. Your remaining Pokemon are Murkrow, Chansey, Sableye. I guess Murkrow would have Taunt here, but I could just Sucker Punch the Annihilate slot. I mean, the main thing is my opponent activated Defiant twice on turn 1. That looks like Chansey to me. Beautiful. Perish Song wins us this game. We actually probably didn't even need Perish Song here, but I'm down to just Sucker Punch. Oh, wait, I have to be careful here. Does it actually end the game? Because this could protect right now, and then you could go, like, Seismic Toss onto this slot. And I'm not sure who's faster between... Oh, no, but then Meowscarada wins the game. Yeah, because we're not eating up the Perish with that. So I'm going to Sucker Punch here and just click Song. Because Meowscarada's offense in itself should win us the game here, right? Like, Chansey can't KO Meowscarada quickly enough, essentially. There's Seismic Toss, yeah. Because Meowscarada has just over 150 HP, so you need 4 Seismic Tosses to KO it. And with Perish Song, there's only 3 turns left in the game. So this was a little bit scary. I felt like the game should have been a guaranteed win after turn 1. I'm not sure actually I'm a huge fan of how I played the mid game, like post turn 1. Even turn 1, I think I could have maybe done a little bit better job with my decision making. But in my head, I was like, okay, if Cleave knocks out Annihilate immediately, the game is just over, right? Especially with Gyarados being intimidated. Yeah, so we have 152 HP, so it takes 4 Seismic Tosses to KO. Unless there's some crazy... I don't even know if Annihilate gets any priority damage, but yeah, we can just go for Flower Trick here. Doesn't really matter what we do with the Azumarill, I think, but Sing is fine. Also, as you saw, based off the speed order here, I am faster with... Or sorry, I'm slower with the Azumarill, so even if, like, Meowscarada somehow fainted, we would win the game with Perish Song. They get a double Protect off. It's fine. That's cool. I was wondering why they were going for the double Protect. It's Life Dew. And Sing misses. It's still okay, though. Like, you lose the game off Perish Song, but it makes sense. That's their only way to potentially win this game, right? I still think Banded Flower Trick should get the KO here. And, like, the thing is, I didn't even need Perish Song to win this game necessarily because I have the offense of Choice Band Meowscarada, but it just guarantees us the win. Like, Azumarill is so good against strategies that want to stay on the field forever, like Chansey or Dondozo Tatsugiri, for example. And that gets the KO. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing here is my opponent just double activating Defiant. And, you know, it makes sense from their end, I think, because often you're like, okay, well, you know, even if I activate Defiant on Kingambit, I have answers for you. I'm really surprised that they, like, so hyper-fixated on KOing Meowscarada on turn 1, but they were probably thinking, okay, yeah, your Kingambit's activated, but how are you going to beat my Annihilate in the back? But the answer was Fairy Tera here, so that's why Tera is huge. Also, I'm glad to show this endgame because, like, you should not rely on Sing. In this position, there's no other move to go for, so you might as well go for it. But Sing is a very inaccurate attack in VGC. Do not click that unless you absolutely need to, in my opinion. Like, I would go for Sing if I already had a big lead and hitting it would, like, win me the game, or I'm so far behind that it's my only way back into the game. But generally, I don't want to consider as an option nearly as much as, for example, protecting or switching out. Azumarill has Sing because it just doesn't have anything else to offer after it clicks Perish Song and Protect. And so it's essentially like, oh, I might as well give myself like a, you know, over 50% chance to put my opponent to sleep and, you know, win the game. But I think it's very easy with this team to just, like, get baited into clicking Hypnosis and Sing all the time. And that can waste a lot of turns for you because, like, your odds of hitting obviously aren't amazing. But yeah, I think that one was interesting because instead of using Perish Song in the early game, we used it in the late game, so you can see kind of the flexibility with this composition. Okay, for this one, we've got Tyranitar, Lycanroc, Houndstone, Amoonguss, Vaporeon, and Volcarona. That's really interesting. I really want to run into a Dondozo team. That'd be nice. How do we want to approach this? Like, I could go for something like Gyarados plus Meowscarada. Get a quick Intimidate off onto there. And I don't know what kind of Houndstone set it's going to be. So I think my primary concern. Because they have so many Pokemon that are weak to Meowscarada. Intimidate's valuable. Aqua Jet here is actually really nice in finishing off Lycanroc, which is sweet. So I'm thinking Gyarados, Meowscarada, Kingambit, and Azumarill. I think Gothitelle's not that great here because, one, they have Houndstone, which is Ghost. Two, I don't think the trapping is that valuable. Tyranitar's get into it as well. I'd rather have like an extra Pokemon in terms of offense. I guess one of the interesting things is if I went like Gothitelle Gyarados, fake out Intimidate, but I'm not getting outspeed Lycanroc in this battle even with Dragon Dances, so I don't know. I think this is also probably a good matchup for Amoonguss. I just don't really know who I would drop for it, in my opinion. Maybe Azumarill? Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thought. Vaporeon, by the way, yeah, picking up a little bit in usage because it's interesting into Dondozo teams. I think it's interesting, right? I feel like a lot of new techs have popped up to try to beat Dondozo because, like, you don't want to just, like, have an auto loss into that matchup, given how common it'll likely be. But we're not running into it, for example, like, as frequently right now. Tyranitar's faster than Gyarados here. Okay. I'm going to Intimidate off with both. I'm a little bit worried about it being Choice Scarfed right now on Tyranitar. Like, I want to switch into Kingambit right now and actually just try to go for a one-hit KO onto Tyranitar, but this could totally Tera on me. Flying Tera would be the problem. Switching to Gambit. Okay, I'm going to Flower Trick Lycanroc instead. Because I think Tyranitar Terraing here into flying and then me doing very little damage would be very bad for me. Ah, they didn't Terra though. They just went for Rock Slide. Okay. It is Choice Scarf. No flinch, which is really nice. But I would have preferred targeting Tyranitar because I think this is going to just have Focus Sash right now. Oh! Thank you for proving me wrong. No Sash. That's a very pleasant surprise. Okay. By the way, should be able to... am I able to 100% confirm Tyranitar's Choice Scarf, given Gyarados' speed investment? I don't actually remember off the top of my head how much speed we have and whether or not it would outspeed max speed Tyranitar. Houndstone comes out. I'm really curious if Will-O-Wisp or whether or not it's just like last respects. Pretty easy to pivot back into Gyarados right now. I'm just looking to pick up one more KO, right? And then set up Perish Song, ideally. I don't know if I really even need to Terra here. Tyranitar switching feels like it makes sense here. So I'm down to Cleave and then switch out into Gyarados. Tyranitar's staying in. Okay. I mean, Will-O-Wisp from Houndstone here would make a lot of sense. I'm very surprised Lycanroc didn't have Focus Sash, so I'm very curious about the item, because it wasn't like Life Orb either. Okay, they're going to go for a Terra. Probably Terra Houndstone, but what are you Terraing into is the question. Fighting Terra Houndstone. Oh, with Terra Blast. Well, did not see that one coming. My counterplay to that was going for a Terra of my own, but it's Life Orb fighting Terra. I mean, that's a great counter into Kingambit, right? Oh, that's brutal. I don't think I can win the game from that. If I went Terra Iron Head, I think I would have been fine. I probably should have just Terra'd Kingambit because I don't think, yeah, turning into Fairy doesn't make me lose that much, but it helps against random stuff like that. And I wasn't going to go for a Terra with Azumarill or the Meowscarada here anyway, right? The problem is now both of my opponent's Pokemon just outspeed me. I think what I can do, though, is kind of bait them to targeting... Because I can still win the game if I pick up 1 KO here. With Perish Song. Given that you're at -2, I'm actually not sure a Rock Slide KOs. Like, Rock Slide shouldn't KO either Pokemon. Actually, because of that, I'm actually just going to stay in and Flower Trick and Waterfall here. I'm looking to just get 1 KO. Oh, but with last respects. Yeah. And then Rock Slide single target now, so I faint. Man, fighting Tera, that's really cool. I just needed a Tera Kingambit there. Rock Slide does connect. Yeah, I just got outsped here, and I you know, maybe felt a little bit too safe with Kingambit. Like, I just wasn't really sure what they were going to go for. I didn't necessarily want to get rid of the dark typing because of last respect. Yeah, now we just lose. But I think if I had just Tera Kingambit that turn, I would have survived the turn, been able to get some damage off. Although the damage would have not been super important there. But it's mainly just surviving with Kingambit, because I think their team's Kingambit's answers are really lackluster. And then I could have used it to just like aggressively target down the Tyranitar slot. The main thing is that everything on my team was outsped by my opponent's side in this game. And yeah, like, just didn't really expect fighting Tera. Like, I guess I could have covered for that. But, you know, in a best of 1, I don't mind losing to something like that. It's, I guess, mainly frustrating for me because I had a direct solution to it, which was just going for Tera on Kingambit. With a battle like that, I always, you know, look at, okay, one, where it could have improved in terms of the Pokemon that I brought, in terms of the moves that I made. Also, could I have done anything differently in team preview? I do think Amoonguss is actually quite strong into their team. That's what I was talking about. But I feel like all the Pokemon we brought were fairly good, and if I played a little bit better with Kingambit, I was like just 1 KO away from clicking Perish Song, right? Because like you look at what they had in the back, Vaporeon, Volcarona, Amoonguss, all of those full to Perish Song. So even though like, yeah, I ended up just getting swept after the Tera Blast turn. Like, if we just knock out Tyranitar there, we essentially should win the game. And if I had just Terra Kingambit there... Like, actually, the answer would have been Terra Kingambit, Brick Break into Tyranitar. If we don't flinch from Rock Slide there, game's over, I think, because then Azumarill just comes out and clicks Perish Song. So, yeah. The good thing is that we definitely had the tools to win that one. I just didn't expect fighting Life Orb, Tera Blast, Houndstone, which is really cool. But makes sense, and means I gotta be a little bit more wary when playing with Kingambit in general, I think, because those random fighting type attacks can just one-shot you, and it feels really bad. Okay, for this one, we've got Indeedee, Armorer, Sylveon, Meowscarada, Hariyama, and Kingambit. Feels very similar to a lot of the teams, like a combination of the teams that we featured recently, which is fun to see. Haven't really brought out Amoonguss today. Don't really love bringing it into a matchup. I mean, I can't Water Tera with it. Like, I really feel like I should be considering Azumarill a little bit more in my decision-making. I gotta be a little bit wary of activating Defiant on their Kingambit. I think Meowscarada on my side is a really solid lead, but I'm worried about their Meowscarada being faster with U-turn. Gothitelle trapping stuff in here. They have dual darks, so it doesn't feel that good. I'm a little bit worried about Grass Tera on the Armarouge as well. So I think I'm actually going to go with Meowscarada and Kingambit, Azumarill plus Gyarados in the back. The logic here is that I just have a lot of presence in terms of damage on turn 1. I could flex Tera with the Kingambit as well. Man, that last game was so interesting, because it's like, yeah, if you just have one critical bad turn like that, the game just like completely spirals out of control. I also could have won that game by protecting Gyarados, by the way. I just like didn't respect last respects, which was kind of dumb on my end. But if I had protected Gyarados, I think Rock Slide doesn't actually KO Meowscarada thanks to double Intimidate, and then we just KO their Tyranitar. So there were 2 turns I could have played better in that game. Anyway, they go with Kingambit and Sylveon. Fire Tera from Sylveon here is definitely a possibility. I would like to Brick Break Kingambit for a one-hit KO. I'm not sure if they expect it. The problem is that they just simply protect on turn 1. I guess, like, their Kingambit doesn't scare me that much. Sylveon scares me a lot more. So I'm down to U-turn and cleave into it. Yeah, they're gonna Tera. I went for that move expecting Tera. I guess it could be Kingambit Terraing here still, but nice. What is with these electric Terras today? Interesting. Huh. New meta. Okay, their Kingambit didn't protect, which makes me a little sad. That did so much damage though, wow. Okay. Going to Azumarill right now. Don't want to just get KO'd. Or sorry, we don't want to activate Defiant on their Kingambit. There's Hyper Voice. I mean, if their Kingambit has a fighting type attack, that would be pretty bad for me. I'm curious what its moveset is. Okay, we're faster though, which is nice. That's good. So 1 KO away from Perish Song. I know I've got Brick Break for their Kingambit as well, and I didn't reveal that quite yet, and they've committed their Tera. And they just Iron Head. Okay, excellent. Great, great, great. That was a solid turn. Yeah, I'm very interested in like the influx of electric Tera popping up. Like we saw it on both Annihilape and Sylveon. Normally I expect, I don't know, fire on those, for example. Hariyama comes out. Okay, Hariyama. I can't just double protect here, which is a little bit frustrating. This actually is an interesting position to click Sing, in my opinion. Because if I Sing into Kingambit and hit it, I think Gyarados can just win the game. So I'm actually kind of down to go for Sing and Brick Break. And they fake out Azumarill. Amazing. So I actually just get Brick Break off with my Kingambit into theirs. But Kingambit actually survives impressively enough. Okay. But Iron Head also does not KO Azumarill, and we flinch. Alright, not a terrible sequence of events, in my opinion. Okay, we have to ask ourselves, what do I think my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be? I think Gyarados Tera here is excellent in this endgame, regardless of what their final Pokemon is. Part of the debate is, like, I could go for a Tera here with my Kingambit, for example, right? Azumarill here doesn't really have too much to offer this turn. You know what, though? I am down to click Perish Song here and just Sucker Punch into their Kingambit. Nice. Yeah, because the thing is now Hariyama's on a timer, right? They'll probably close combat the Kingambit for a KO, but then now Gyarados plus Meowscarada I think wins this endgame for me. And basically what I didn't want to happen is switch out the Azumarill. Azumarill is such low HP anyway. If I switch it out, whatever's coming in still takes a sizable amount of damage if Hariyama targets that slot. And I think it's way too important to conserve my late game sweepers in Gyarados and Meowscarada to win this endgame. So there's Perish Song. Yeah, I don't think whatever they have in the back can really handle Gyarados plus Meowscarada. Armarouge. NDD. I mean, the main debate is like who I'd want to go into. I think Gyarados here is fine. Get an immediate Intimidate off onto the Hariyama. And it's their Meowscarada. Okay, that works. That works. I think the play I'm going to make here is simply just Aqua Jet, Flying Tera, and just Tera Blast. Yeah, because like Hariyama's on a timer right now. I don't think he can really do that much damage to me. And I'm worried about them setting up Trick Room with Focus Sash Meowscarada in this position. And Flying Tera helps. I mean, it's like Intimidated Gyarados, and we're Flying Tera. Which gets rid of the water weakness. I mean, I guess Hariyama could have Thunder Punch. Okay, no Protect. I think this wins us the game then. Yeah, it looks like they were going for Trick Room. Focus Sash Trick Room was like the one way I could see myself losing this game, so I just wanted to double up into that slot. If Meowscarada protects in that position, like, I think unless it had U-turn, my Meowscarada in the endgame with Gyarados looked really strong here, right? Yeah, they go for knockoff. Cool. That's less than half, or just about half. Sorry, slightly over, actually. I don't know why I said... Well, we took Life Orb damage, so I was like factoring that into the calculation. But yeah, now Perish Song's at 2 turns each, and we can just Aqua Jet plus Tera Blast once again. We don't even need Perish Song to win this game, but, you know, it just makes it harder for your opponent. And I think, like, when you're operating under the pressure of Perish Song as well, making a decision in the short amount of time that you have for each turn becomes so much more difficult. And so, yeah, like the decision to stay in with Azumarill was essentially, hey, don't really have anything better to do with it right now. So, yeah. I think the games today were really interesting. You know, this team is not easy to pilot. I think it's one of the most challenging teams that I've used so far, but the payoff can be incredible. And you have so many different win conditions, whether it be sweeping with Gyarados, getting a lot of damage off with Kingambit. You know, we were able to showcase those Pokemon fairly effectively, I would say. And then, of course, the Perish Song is a big component to it. And I'm glad that we featured like multiple different ways that it can be utilized, whether it be just early game Gothitelle plus Azumarill, or kind of saving it for the end game, which we did in some of the other matches. But yeah, I'd say the one game I lost, like I got caught off guard by that fighting Tera, but I could have improved my play as well. Like the turn against Houndstone, what else would I expect Houndstone to do in that position, right? I guess my opponent did have a play of Terra Blasting the Meowscarada and then Rock Sliding with Gyarados or Tyranitar. I don't really have any counterplay to that, so my counterplay literally would be hoping for them making the play that they did, KOing the Tyranitar, surviving the Rock Slider, them missing, and then we KO them, and then Azumarill Perish Songs. But yeah, like ultimately, if I had actually found the Terra Fairy Brick Break into Tyranitar play, it might have just won the game immediately there if we don't get flinched. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about best of one and ladder in this format. It's going to be volatile. You're going to run into random Terras. We have a lot of crazy Terras on this team, right? That's just how some of that part of the game works. So you kind of have to incorporate that in your risk calculations as you play each turn. But that was a really fun episode, and I hopefully have now showcased the strength of Perish Song plus Gothitelle. So this is something you're going to have to watch out for as you play throughout this format. Anyway, thank you so much as always for watching. My name's Aaron CybertronZeng. If you enjoyed, really mean a lot if you consider leaving a like or subscribing, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.